To be or not to be? That is the question. There's also 5 other questions you should ask yourself before becoming an actor. So let's get after it. I'm Kristen Henry King, and you're watching Kristen Keeps It Real. Many times I've been asked the question, should I become an actor? Well, that's something that you need to decide on your own. But I will answer your question with a question, and another 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 question with a bunch of little itty bitty questions in between those questions. And while it all seems very confusing right now, by the end of this video, I promise you will have full clarity on whether or not you should become an actor. Question number 1. What is your purpose of becoming an actor? Do you want to become an actor because you want to be famous and you want that lifestyle? Or do you want to become an actor because you genuinely love the art form of storytelling? Or do you want a little bit of both? Because if you just want to become famous, then you should just do a reality show like The Bachelor or The Bachelorette or Real World or something like that that's going to get you instant fame, which could inevitably get you a little bit of fortune. Or become an influencer. Although I would argue that becoming an influencer is just as hard as becoming an actor because you have to build your following and stuff like that. But if you truly cannot think of anything else that you want to do in life, and your purpose is to use your art form to create an emotional impact on somebody, or have the admiration from the audience because you gave them something that then gives them back something, then yes, this question should make you want to become an actor. Question number 2. Can you handle the instability of an acting career with the hopes of one day having stability? Meaning a series regular role, a role on Broadway where you have for the next 8 months, a commercial or a film that will be able to sustain your living expenses for at least a year. Are you willing to work another job while also trying to pursue this job? I will not lie. Pursuing another job while you're trying to work on your career can burn you out. It can make you feel trapped. You can be spending more hours on that other job than you are on your acting career. Your side hustle can turn out being your main hustle, and the next thing you know, you're no longer being an actor. Story time. Long before I was married, I lived in New York City. I worked as a cocktail waitress. And then once I worked as a cocktail waitress, I also worked as a fit model. Basically, a fit model is a person who tries on the clothes before they go into the store to make sure they fit right. And the thing that was maddening about that is that you could not gain or lose an inch. So if there was a role where you had to be really skinny or really big, you couldn't do it or else you lost that client. It would be a big deal if you lost that client because you made $3.50 an hour. So the money was so good, but at the end of the day, it still didn't follow my purpose. So I moved to LA and I worked for LA Fitness for $7.50 an hour. Yeah, that was tough. And then I became an extra and I made about $60 a day for an 8-hour day, and sometimes would go to 12 hours and sometimes would go to 14 hours. I was a walking piece of furniture. I mean, they don't really see you as an extra unless you're a featured extra and you're like one of the girls on the guy's arm, but most of the time you're just the person that's walking back and forth. Reset, and then that's it. And you're looking at people who are in the roles that you want to be. It's hard to watch, but also I learned what it was like to be on set. And once I got my SAG vouchers, I was out. So moral of the story is if you are going to take a job, you need to make sure it's a job that's flexible. And if it's not a job that's flexible, something that's going to benefit you in some way, and then you can be out. If stability does come, which likely will come with fame, your business is all out everywhere. Can you handle that? I don't know. It's a question for you to decide. Question number 3. Can you deal with rejection? This isn't your regular old high school production where there wasn't that much competition. This is real people in the real world who are all gunning for the same job as you. And trust me, there are thousands. But you have to be willing to know that you will get more no's than you will yeses in this job. Story time! It took me 4 years to get my first TV role. I got paid $1,000 for the day, and it was for How I Met Your Mother. You can see it right here.
Girl who only dated black guys.
Fine now! Oh, I knew it!
Yep, one line. Barnell, I knew it. And I was so happy when I booked this. And I was also kind of embarrassed, to be honest. I didn't want to tell anybody that I was gonna be on this TV show and say one line. After working in Hollywood for 4 years, it was kind of embarrassing. But I have to look at it as a win, because here's the thing. Thousands of actors went out for that role. There's only 40 spots for an audition out of those thousands of people that have submitted with their agents. So if you even get an audition to even get a speaking role, that is a big deal. And you have to take a win on it. There's a girl I went to high school with. You may know her, Alexis Bledel. She's in Handmaid's Tale. Well, she graduated from my high school, and literally a year later, she booked Gilmore Girls, a series regular role a year out of high school. So I was going to New York being like, I'm gonna be like Alexis Bledel, but it was not that way for me. It just wasn't. Since 2011, since How I Met Your Mother, okay, I started tracking my auditions. And I added them all up from 2011 to now, and I've had 875 auditions. Yep. In 2018, I had 150 auditions and I booked 26 jobs. That is the most I've ever done in a year. That is 17% of the auditions that I went out for, I got. If that was a job interview and you went out on 125 interviews and you didn't get anything, people would be like, there's something that you're not doing right, which is why you can't get a job. I could look at it that way. But I can now see that this is not a short-term thing. This is a long-term thing. And when I do book that one thing that's going to, be able to handle everything, stability, all that stuff, it's all gonna be worth it. And I choose to take that risk of, not knowing my next job. I don't know what my next job is gonna be. Are you willing to have 875 auditions in 9 years and only book 50 of them? Well, that's something to think about. Question number 4. Can you accept others succeeding in the exact same career as you without feeling bitter? To say it was hard to see my colleagues get opportunities that I couldn't get was an understatement. I'm gonna be completely honest, because I wanted to know, why wasn't I going out for roles like that? Why haven't I gotten there yet? And it can be extremely invalidating to you when you have worked just as long or just as hard as someone else, and they are where they're at. That should not deter you from your own career if it is your passion, if that is your purpose line. My friend Callie Hawk, we auditioned for the same movie. You might have heard it. It's called Couples Retreat. She is hilarious. She went to Groundlings. She went to all these great schools, and she was very, very funny. So it was no surprise that she booked it. But since she booked it, it put her on the map. And I could not be happier for her. Jade Taylor, we used to be in the exact same singing dance troupe. She booked The Magicians. She's doing great. She's a series regular on the show. Annette Mahendru, we were extras on his show where we literally just laid on the beach all day. It was the best extras day work I've ever done. And now look at her. She just came off of Americans about 1.5 years ago, and now she's on a spin-off of The Walking Dead, and it's great. And I can look at that and be like, oh, that makes me so sad, woo, 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 why couldn't that be me, and be bitter. Or I can be accepting of their win, because what it does is it shows me that it can be done. It gives me hope that you can start from the bottom and work your way up. Because seeing is believing, right, y'all? I learn from my actor friends that are succeeding, and I'm like, okay, cool, what are they doing? And knowing that all these girls and colleagues and co-stars and people who went to NYU with me are where they're at, it gives me hope. Hopefully it gives you hope, or maybe change your viewpoint about, competition. Question number 5 is a fully loaded question. In fact, it's a battery of questions, all regarding the same subject. Are you willing to put in the work? Are you willing to show up? Are you willing to audition, get rejected, pick yourself back up again, and do it all over? Are you willing to take the time to read a script, a play, when everyone else is partying? I will never forget Danny Glover in The Color Purple. Oh my God, I hated that guy. Or Samuel L. Jackson in Django. My God, okay? Like, I didn't even look at them as actors anymore because they were real people. Are you willing to put in the work? Are you willing to be away from friends and family if you have to shoot on location for an extended amount of time? Can you be counted on? Are you reliable enough that when your agent sends you an audition, you're gonna be there? You know yourself. You know if you are the type of person who can be disciplined, who can be motivated, because let me tell you, this job, you have got to push yourself every day. Even when you are depressed as hell, even when you haven't booked a job, even during COVID, it is your job as an artist to bring everybody back up, to make them feel better, to make a story that's going to get them out of whatever is going on. And now we're talking about my purpose. I want to be able to lift people out of whatever funk they're going through. Are you willing to figure out your purpose? If you said yes to any of these questions, then you should absolutely 100% without a shadow of a doubt be an actor. The world needs people like you. In fact, I have asked these questions to myself on numerous occasions, and the answer is always a resounding yes. Why? Because doing anything else would be far too gruesome for me to endure. I've actually had people say to me, I don't know how you do it. I could never do that career. And then I say, I understand how you could think that. But then I also say to them, doing anything else against my God-given purpose, against my passion, would be a much harder job. So now I have a question for you. Should you be an actor, and why? Please put it in the comments below, and I'll see you next week.